Okay, so this is going to be a review of Samaritan. It's the newest Stallone movie on Amazon Prime, and it's directed by Julius Avery. So in this, there are two superpowered beings. One's a hero, one's a villain. They're brothers. One of them is played by Stallone, Joe. So it starts off with this intro telling their backstory. They were superpowered kids, so they were picked on. They accidentally hurt some people, and so some people burned down their home. Their mother and father died, but they didn't. So one became a good guy, like a hero, and one of them became a villain. And one was Samaritan, that's the good guy, and the villain is Nemesis. So they fought each other at some point. Nemesis created a hammer that can kill either one of them because they're both pretty much invincible, and it was made from all of his hate. It's ridiculous stuff. It's very comic booky in this intro, and an explosion happens, and so they're believed to be dead. So some time goes by. I think it was like 25 years or something like that. And there's this kid in this movie who's really the main character, Sam, played by Yvonne Javon Walton, and he's trying to look for the Samaritan. He's really obsessed with it. Does a lot of research, watches internet videos about him, and he believes like everybody around him is potentially the Samaritan. He's into some things with some gang members. The villain in this movie is trying to be the new Nemesis, so he's also working with him, and he gets into it with some of the group, and so Joe Stallone comes in and saves him in a way that's suspicious. So now Sam is following him around, trying to find out if he actually is the Samaritan. I did not like this movie. I thought it was boring. I thought it was generic. It feels like the MCU movies are a gift and a curse. Really, they've barely been a gift lately because a lot of the movies have been underwhelming, at least for me. But they were good at a certain point, and so now and for the last however many years, Netflix and now Amazon Prime and other people have made superhero things, or tried to get into that craze with generic lame stuff that doesn't hold a candle to at least the good stuff within the MCU at all, and this is one of those things. But positives, because there are some good things here, actually more than I thought there would be. The intro I thought was well done. I was kind of into it, and then their backstory and things. It doesn't really get interesting with the backstory until later on with a certain twist that happens. But I still like that early on. It's shot okay for an Amazon Prime movie. I've seen other Amazon Prime movies and Netflix movies that are somewhat on the same level as this, so that's fine. Stallone, I think, gives a pretty good performance, probably the best of the movie. I was only really interested in his character because the rest of the characters aren't that great. There were points where I couldn't understand what he was saying, where he's just yelling and things like that, but that's Stallone. What can you say? There were some interesting concepts here to the point where I felt like there was a good movie in there trying to escape, because there's this idea of Nemesis, because Nemesis has graffiti on the walls and things just like Samaritan does, you know, in this poor neighborhood and things like that. And I'm thinking, why would they put up why is anybody spray painting Nemesis's symbol? And it's because Nemesis was more than just a villain. He was actually seen as a hero by the downtrodden and the poor and things like that. And I thought that was interesting. I wish they would have used that a little bit more. And especially with what happens with the twist, it definitely feels like they could have mined that a little bit more. Definitely had the twist happen earlier, because it happened so late in the movie that you can't really get that much out of it. If they'd have done that, they would have had a legitimately not great but good movie on their hands here. It would have been more interesting and not just been some generic superhero thing just thrown out there with Stallone in it. All right, let's get to the bad stuff. So this kid, what was the name? Javon Walton. He's not good, and he is the main character, so we follow him a lot, and a lot of it is just him following around slash stalking Stallone's character Joe, and that's really it, and that was getting really boring.
Hey, what do I have to do? Throw you under a bus to make you stop following me?
Samir don't want to do that.
What if he was having a bad day? Come on.
I'm trying not to be mean to kids' characters, the child actors, but this kid is not good. Very bad. Not only is this one of the worst performances I've seen in a while, it's one of the worst child performances I've seen. Not a single line from him, and the dialogue ain't helping him. Like, there's a character that he's friends with, a black character, kind of stereotypical, and he calls him Squirt over and over again. So the dialogue isn't doing anybody any favors in the directions of this kid is most likely also part of it. But that kid is not believable at all. Whenever he has to be sad or he has to smile through certain dialogue when he's talking to Stallone, whenever he has to cry, none of it is believable. None of it. The kid is, he's honestly terrible. And I'm trying not to be mean, but he is. And the kid is so annoying that he gets put in peril, and I either don't care or I'm saying, you know what, just kill him. The villain is just kind of a villain, you know, any villain that you could see. I think I've seen this actor be a villain before, so, you know, they just casted him and to do what he's done before, and it's just, you know, he's just kind of generic, just like a lot of the rest of the movie. I found a lot of this boring, where it's just kind of going and going and going. Sometimes the kid is working with the villain and his gang, and then it completely goes away for him to follow Joe around, and then it comes back, so I don't really care. I just, he's teaching the kid how to fight and things like that. I don't care. You know, the whole thing with the mom, and, you know, they're struggling financially. At a certain point, I forgot about that. The kid character, the kid in this, Sam, he's so bad, and I cared about him so little that there's a point where he goes to talk to the guy that he watches on the internet that does the Samaritan stuff. And by the time he did that, the guy calls him the wrong name. And I didn't realize he called him the wrong name at the time because I had forgotten his name too. That's how much the kid just meant nothing unless he was getting on my nerves. The story is lacking other than some elements that I thought worked, but even the action, you know, it's a little bit too many cuts. Some of it's all right, but there's a little too many cuts in it. There's a lot of action. It's front loaded with it towards the end in the little climactic battle thing with the villain. And, you know, he's for the most part immortal, so there's not much to it, or invincible, so there's not much to it. And there's even certain points where it doesn't really even somewhat look like the hit connected at certain points. I noticed that. His powers or his invincibility kind of all over the place. He gets hit by a car and his bones are broken and he has to pop them back into place. But he can be shot by with a gun and it does nothing. It's really nothing other than those little key things that I thought were okay. And that's it. I guess, you know, there actually was something here that they could have done, but they didn't. So it's mostly pretty worthless. But I still will give it a rental because of those things that still worked. I want to be fair. I don't think it goes down to the level of trash. Not quite. Other than that kid, which was really getting on my nerves. But whatever. That's Samaritan, and we're done.